In my younger years, my father gave me advice that I've been turning over in my head ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he said, remember, not all people have had the advantages you've had. After leaving the East, there is now a limit to my tolerance. Only Gatsby was exempt from my reaction. It turned out right in the end. It was a pain on Gatsby. It closed out my interest in the short, winding joys of men. I moved from a rural town, my hometown, to Long Island, which was made up of what was called the West Egg, where I stayed, and the East Egg, the more fashionable of the two. That's where my second cousin once removed, Daisy, and her husband Tom lived. The Buchanans. One summer evening, I drove to their place. Hi, Daisy. Tom.
This is Miss Baker, Nick. Oh, you ought to see the baby. Well, she's asleep now, though, but she's 2 years old.
What are you doing these days, Nick? I'm in the bond business.
I'm stiff. I've been lying on that sofa for as long as I can remember.
Well, I've been trying to get you to go to New York all afternoon.
No, I'm absolutely in training. You live in West End? I know somebody there. A very distinguished someone.
I've never seen
You must know Gatsby.
Certainly, you know somebody must be.
Who's this Gatsby? You want to hear about the butler's nose?
He used to be a silver polisher for certain people in New York.
I'd love to see you at my table, Nick. You remind me of a rose, an absolute rose.
I just realized. She can't pick up her friends. It's Mr. Gatsby you spoke of?
Don't talk. I want to hear what happens.
Did something happen?
You mean you don't know? I thought everybody knew. Tom's got some woman in New York.
You got some woman?
She might have the decency not to telephone him at dinner time.
Turned out, Miss Baker was Jordan Baker, a competitive golfer. Daisy insisting on pairing us together, an idea that I didn't object to. After the get-together, I returned to my own home and saw Gatsby. He walked towards the water between our land and the east, his hands stretched out. I distinguished nothing except the green light. Far away, it might have been a dog. As for Tom's girl, I was soon due to meet her. About halfway between the West Egg and New York, the road runs beside a railroad. This is the Valley of Ashes. Above the gray land are the eyes of a huge jay, blue and gigantic, looking through a pair of enormous yellow spectacles. Evidently, some occupant set them there and forgot them and moved away. Tom and I took a train there one day. I want to meet my girl. Hello, Wilson. How's business?
I can't complain. Say, when are you gonna sell me that car?
Next week. I have my man working on it now.
Works, pretty slow, don't he?
No, he doesn't. And if you feel that way, perhaps you should sell it somewhere else after all.
I didn't mean that.
Oh, go get some chairs and we can sit down.
I'm gonna see you. Get on the next train.
All right.
After some time with Tom hampering this house, he bought her a dog. He made a way to a row of apartments on 158th Street. Tom get the penthouse there. He had planned a small party that night. Myrtle's sister, Catherine McPhee, among others, were there. I'd been drunk just twice in my life. The second time was that.
Neither Myrtle nor Tom can stand the person they're married to. What I say is, why go on living with a person
face, arguing in impassioned voices.
Daisy, 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 I'll say whatever I want. Daisy, Daisy, Daisy.
In the morning, I was standing beside a stranger's bed. Next thing I knew, I was sitting at the fourth floor level of Destenie station, reading the Morning Tribune. Trying to read. I was waiting for the 4 o'clock train. I believe the first night I went to Gatsby's house. I was one of the only guests who'd actually been invited to his party. People weren't invited, they just went there. Sometimes they came and went without having met Gatsby at all. This didn't seem to stop the gossip that surrounded him, as if Gatsby is some sort of myth. Excuse me, do you know where Mr. Gatsby might be?
I thought I might find you here. I remember you lived next door to us.
Hello. Sorry you didn't win your golf tournament. You don't know me, but we met here a month ago.
You've dyed your hair since then. Do you come to these parties often?
Yes, I like to come. I don't care what I do, so I always have a good time. Last time I was here, though, I tore my dress on a chair. But Gatsby asked my name and address, and within a week I got packed for 4 years. It was a new gown, yes, with lavender beads, $265. There's something funny about a man that would do a thing like that. He doesn't want trouble with anyone. I even heard that he killed a man.
Wait, Gatsby? No, it's more like he was a spy for the war. I heard that from a man who grew up with him, who knows all about it. Living in Germany.
Let's get out. This is much too polite for me. I want to find our hopes.
What do you think?
About what?
About that? They're real. The looks? Absolutely real. The pages and everything. Trying to make a nice, durable piece of cardboard. Look, it's a bona fide piece of printed material. Fool me. This guy's a regular Velasco. Your face is familiar. Were you in the 3rd Division during the war?
Why, yes. I was in the 9th Machine Gun Battalion.
I was in the 7th Infantry. I knew I'd seen you somewhere before. When I run my high school in the war, just give a shoulder on the sound, and anytime suits your best.
All right. This is an unusual party for me. I haven't even seen the host. I live over there. And this man Gatsby sent over an invitation.
I'm Gatsby.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
I thought you knew, old sport. I'm afraid I'm not a very good host. Excuse me, I have a call from Chicago. I'll rejoin you later.
Where is he from? What does he do?
Now you're starting on the subject. Well, he told me once he was an Oxford man, but I don't believe it.
Why not?
I just don't think he went there. Anyhow, he means large parties.
Miss Baker. See you guys. Right.
Excuse me.
I was alone and it was almost 2. The party soon began to empty. As I waited for my hat in the hall, the door of the library opened, and Jordan and Gatsby came out together.
I just heard the most amazing thing. But I swore I wouldn't tell, and here I am tantalizing you. Please come and see me. Phone book. Under the name of Miss Sigourney Howard, my aunt.
I'm sorry for not having known you earlier.
Don't mention it, old sport. Don't give it another thought. And don't forget, we're meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Good night, old sport.
For a while, I lost sight of Jordan Baker. Then I found her again. At first, I was flattered to go places with her because she was a golf champion. Still, her bored face concealed something. And one day I found out what it was. She was incurably dishonest. She could not endure being at a disadvantage. And for a moment, I thought I was in love with her. At 9 o'clock one morning, late in July, Gatsby was standing outside my house. It was the first time he had called on me, even though I'd gone to two of his parties. We started to town.
Look here, old sport. What's your opinion on being out?
Well,
I'm going to tell you something about my life. I don't want you to get the wrong idea from all those stories you hear. See, I'm the son of some very wealthy people from the Middle West. All dead now. I was brought up in America and educated at Oxford because all my family's been educated there for many years.
what part of the Middle West?
San Francisco. My family all died, and I came to a great deal of money. After that, I lived like a prince in all the capitals of Europe, collecting jewels, hunting big game, painting a little, things for myself only. And then came the war, old sport. It was a great relief. I tried terribly hard to die, but I seemed to bear an enchanted life. See, I don't want you thinking I'm just some nobody. I find myself among strangers because I drift here and there, trying to forget a very sad thing that happened to me. You'll hear about it this afternoon.
At lunch?
No, this afternoon. I happen to find that you're taking Miss Baker to tea. Miss Baker has kindly consented to speak to you about this matter.
That day, we had lunch with certain Mr. Meyer Wolfsheim, a wealth man, 42nd Street cellar. The most notable thing about him was his cuff buttons, made of human rollers. Gatsby said he was a gambler, but he was the man that fixed the World Series in 1919. He saw Tom there too, but after one look at his face, Gatsby was quick to get away. Later that afternoon, I saw Jordan sitting on a chair at the tea garden of the Plaza Hotel, after I invited her to tea.
I saw Daisy one day sitting in her roadster with a lieutenant I had never seen before, and they were engrossed in each other. His name was J. Gatsby, and I didn't lay eyes on him again for over 4 years. Even after I met him in New York, I didn't recognize him as the same man. Later, wild rumors were spreading about how her mother caught Daisy trying to go to New York to see him off before he went overseas. But by autumn, she was happy again. She got married to Tom in June. I was the bridesmaid. I came into her room half an hour before the bridal dinner. Congratulate me. Never had a drink before, but oh, how I do enjoy it. What's the matter, Daisy? Here, dearest. Take them downstairs and give them back to whoever they belong to. Tell them Daisy's changed her mind. They were sweet together at first. Then Tom ran into a wagon one night with a girl in the car with him. She got into the papers too because her arm was broken. She was one of the chambermaids at the Santa Barbara Hotel, the first of many of Tom's adventures. When I asked you about Gatsby the other day, Daisy came into my room later that night and asked me what Gatsby. When I told her, she said in the strangest voice that it must be the man she used to know.
What a strange coincidence.
But it wasn't a coincidence at all. Gatsby bought that house so that Daisy would be just across the bay. And he wants to know if you'll invite her over for tea some afternoon and then let him come over.
Why didn't he ask you to arrange this meeting?
Well, because he wants her to see his house first. And yours is right next door.
Does she want to see Gatsby?
She's not to know about it. Not yet. Gatsby doesn't want her to know.
I decided to go along with Gatsby's plan. The day agreed upon was pouring rain. I remember that day. Gatsby sent over his boys to clean up my house again. 2 minutes before, Daisy arrived.
Are you in love with me? Or why did I have to come alone?
met before.
I'm just gonna go check something.
Where are you going?
I'll be back.
When I came back from overseas, I looked for you.
I tried to wait for you. I really did. Just looking at you reminds me of all those years ago.
I wish we could go back.
Yes, but that's impossible.
You and that Tom fellow.
Well, things have changed.
Hello, sport.
It stopped raining.
Has it? What do you think of that, Daisy? It stopped raining.
I'm glad, Jay.
Why don't you and Daisy come back to my place? I want to show her around.
You sure you want me to come?
Absolutely, old sport.
So we headed over to Gatsby's mansion. With enchanting murmurs, Daisy admired this aspect of that place. We went upstairs. Finally, we came to his own apartment, the simplest room of all.
I've got a man in England who buys my post for me. He sends me over a selection at the beginning of each season.
They're such beautiful shirts. It makes me sad because I've never seen such beautiful shirts before.
When I finally said goodbye, they had forgotten me. I looked once more at them. They looked back at me remotely, possessed by intense life. Then I went out of the room and down the marble steps, leaving them there together.
An ambitious young reporter from New York arrived at my door one morning. My notoriety had increased all summer until I felt just short of becoming news, apparently. There were so many stories circulating about me. Why was it a satisfaction to James Gatsby of North Dakota? Hard to say. James Gatz. That was my legal name. I changed it when I was 17 after seeing Dan Cody's yacht. James, wearing a torn green jersey and white canvas pants, was on the beach. Jay was the one who pulled out to it in a borrowed rowboat. To me, that yacht represented the glamour of the world. At any rate, Cody took me in and bought me a blue jacket, 6 pairs of white duck trousers, and a yachting cap. I was employed in a vague personal capacity. I was supposed to inherit his money after he passed. A woman who came on board late one night named Ella Kay managed to take the memories. I was up to my education. The contour of Jay Gatsby had filled out the substantiality of a man. I was Jay Gatsby at last.
Sooner or later, Gatsby was integrated in with Tom and the lot. Tom and Daisy went to one of his parties here. One day, Gatsby called me up on Daisy's behalf and asked if I could come to lunch at her house the next day. Daisy called me herself half an hour later, relieved to find that I was coming. Something was up. The next day was broiling.
We can't move.
Alright, talk to you later this afternoon.
Rumor is that's Tom's girl on the telephone.
Mr. Gatsby, nice to see you. Dick?
Make us a cool drink.
the advertisement of the mayor.
All right, let's go to town. I'm perfectly fine with that. Come on, we're going to town.
Tom and Jordan and I took Gatsby's yellow car, while Gatsby and Daisy took Tom's. It was clear that he knew exactly what was going on between Gatsby and his wife, and he wasn't too happy. We stopped at Wilson's garage for gas. Turns out, he wanted money to take Myrtle away to the west. Tom's wife and his mistress were slipping from his control. Eventually, we decided on meeting up in the plaza.
It's a swell suite.
Open another window.
The thing to do is forget about the heat. You may get 10 times worse by crabbing.
Why not let her alone, old sport? You're the one who wanted to come to town.
It's an interesting expression of yours, isn't it? All this old sport business. We should pick that up. By the way, Mr. Gatsby, I understand that you were an Oxford man.
Not exactly.
Oh yes, I understand that you went to Oxford.
Yes, I went there.
When?
It was 1919. I only stayed for 5 months. That's why I can't really call myself an Oxford man. It was an opportunity they gave to some of the officers after the armistice. We could go to Indian universities in England or France.
Open the whiskey, Tom.
Just one moment. I want to ask Mr. Gatsby one more question. What kind of a row we tried to cause in my house anyhow?
He's not causing a row, you are. Please have a little self-control.
Self-control! I suppose the latest thing to do is to sit back and let Mr. Nobody, nowhere, pick up your wife. I'm not very popular. I don't do big parties. I suppose you have to turn your house to a pigsty in order to have any friends.
I've got something to tell you, old sport. Your wife doesn't love you. She never loved you. She only married you because I was born and she was tired of waiting. It was a terrible mistake. But in her heart, she never loved anyone except me.
You're crazy! Daisy loved me the day she married me, and she loves me now. Trouble is, sometimes she gets these wild ideas in her head and doesn't know what she's doing. Sometimes I may go off on a spree and make a fool of myself, but I always come back. And in my heart, I loved her the entire time.
You're revolting. Do you know why we left Chicago?
Why not just tell them the truth? If you never loved her.
I never loved you.
I'll give you that day I carried you down from the punch bowl to keep your shoes dry. Daisy.
Please don't. I love you now, isn't that enough? I did love him once, but I loved you too.
I'm going to take better care of you from now on, Daisy.
You don't understand, old sport. You're not going to take care of her anymore. Daisy's leaving.
And who are you? You're one of that bunch that hangs out with Myra Wolfshine? By the way, Mr. Gatsby, I happened to find out your real occupation. Selling grain alcohol over the counter.
Please come. I can't stand it anymore.
You start at home, Daisy, in Mr. Gatsby's coffin.
And then I remembered it was my birthday. I was 30.
Come on, Myrtle. You're going behind my back with some man. Now tell me, who is he?
No, just stop it, all right? You have me locked away here. What's the use in all this?
Tell me who he is, Myrtle.
No. I could hate you right now, George.
Beat. Rolling down. Beat. You dirty little coward!
plaza drove on toward death through the cooling twilight. The yellow death car, as the newspapers called it, didn't stop. It came out of the gathering darkness, wavered tragically, and then disappeared behind the next bend.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
What happened? Otto was instantly killed. There were two cars, one coming from New York, right into it, going 40 miles an hour.
It was a yellow car. Big, new. It passed me down the road, going more than 40, going 50, 60.
You don't have to tell me what kind of car it was. I know what kind. I've seen it before.
Listen, the car you saw me driving this afternoon wasn't mine. Do you understand? Let's get out. Damn coward. Didn't even slow the car.
Eventually we came to Pipitone's house. Tom wanted me to come inside and stay a while, but I declined. I was feeling a little sick and I wanted to be alone. As I heard the butler calling for a taxi, I rounded the driveway and saw Gatsby.
Did you see any trouble on the road?
Yes.
Was she killed?
Yes. How the devil did it happen?
Well, I tried to swing the wheel.
Was Daisy driving?
Yes. But of course, I'll say I was. You see, it all happened in a minute. And the woman rushed out in front of us. Well, first, Daisy tried to turn the wheel away from the woman and towards the other car. Then she lost her nerve. I tried to get her to stop, but she couldn't. So I pulled on the emergency brake. Daisy fell over in my lap, and I drove on.
He was waiting to see if Tom and Thorny brutality against her. I went around to see. Sure enough, they were sitting together, as if conspiring over dinner for cold fried chicken and ale, all untouched. You better go home and get some sleep.
I want to wait here until Daisy goes to bed. Good night, old sport.
He killed her. I have a way of finding out.
Mormon George?
He murdered her. Look, I'm a Chesapeake, and I think no harm will know it. When I get to know a thing, I know it. She ran out to speak to him, and he wouldn't stop. I spoke to her. I said, you might fool me, but you can't fool God.
That's an advertisement. I have to go to bed. It's only on Washington. Essentially.
By 2:30 the next day, Wilson was in Westgate, where he asked someone on the way to Gatsby's house. So by that time, someone had tipped him off, and he knew Gatsby's name. At 2 o'clock the next day, Gatsby put on his bathing suit and left word at the butler that if anyone phoned, word was to be brought to him by the pool. I remember the rest of that day, and that night, and the next day. It was on the third day that a telegram signed Henry C. Gatz arrived from Minnesota. It was Gatsby's father, requesting to hold the funeral until he came. I tried to get Wolfsheim and several others to come too, but they all wouldn't. One afternoon, late in October, I saw Tom Buchanan. He was walking ahead of me. Just as I slowed up to avoid overtaking him, he stopped and began frowning into the windows of the jewelry store.
What's the matter, Nick? You object to shaking hands with me?
Yes, you know what I think of you. Wilson came to you that afternoon, didn't he? What do you say?
I told him the truth. He forced his way into Gatsby's house. His hand on a revolver the entire time. What if I had to? Gatsby threw dust in your eyes, just like you did Daisy's. You ran over her like you would a dog. I had to sell that flash. I saw that box of dog biscuits lying on the floor. I sat down and cried. Like a baby.
The news didn't hold the same for me anymore. I decided I needed to move again. I broke things off with Jordan. Tom and Daisy disappeared, having nothing to do with Gatsby, even after he was dead. Gatsby's house was still empty when I left. I thought it was wonder when he first picked up the green light at the end of Daisy's dock. The future that year by year recedes before us. So, we beat on. Boats against the current, borne back, ceaselessly into the past.